Hello, everybody. So today started okay, everything considered, given the surprise ban on one of Nvidia's GPU that was specifically tailored to the Chinese market, a surprise ban. Okay, we had a little bit of a drop, but it wasn't too bad. And of course, we had a press conference at a club, an economic club. Trust me, I don't want to be part of that club, of this man who's entirely in control. He looks totally in control. He was entirely confident on that speech. If you listen to the speech, not shaking at all, nothing like that. Anyways, as you know, I'm neutral on Trump, and the reason why I'm neutral on Trump is because he got elected. And so if you get elected, I understand the voice of the people, they vote for you. And then, you do a crash. You said you would do a crash. You create a crash, right? That's the tariff war. Trump's responsible for late March, early April. And, I give him credit for that crash. And, frankly, he had said he would do it. Can't be too mad. Now, what I'm mad about is when it's an unelected official. And I shouldn't say I'm mad. I should say I'm bearish. I'm very bearish on this unelected official, because this unelected man right here, he's responsible, in my view, for the 2020s being a lost decade. As I said in my last macro video, I said I'm calling the 2020s officially a lost decade, and there hasn't been a lot of lost decades. If you look, typically, the 2000s were a lost decade. Typically, you would expect multiple decades of thriving in the stock market after the 2000s, right? To me, this man has destroyed trillions and trillions of stock market. Who am I kidding? Trillions, decatrillions. So I find him responsible. For the market really having sucked throughout the 2020s. And of course, whenever he speaks, the markets crash. And so the speech was a complete disaster, in my opinion. It made me very confident, and not just me, the market as a whole, about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is so cheap, it's not even funny how cheap Bitcoin is. Hard assets are so cheap, I said that in my prior video. If you have a nice house, don't let it go right now. I see people in my area making huge price cuts because they can't stand the house being listed. Now is not the time to sell, because Powell continues to bluff. He continues to ignore the situation, which is why I am confident we're about to get MOAP. I'm putting a twist on MOAB, and now I'm calling it MOAP, the mother of all printers. That's what we're going to get. So don't sell your assets for cheap, because we have a Fed boss who's entirely in denial. Like I said, he should have dropped the rates 4 years ago. As soon as he raised them back up, the quickest in history, that's when he should have dropped them. And he's nowhere near to doing that. And there's nothing we can do about that. There's absolutely nothing we can do about that because of this unelected person. That's why there's nothing we can do about it. So Powell entirely lives in La La Land. So he's blaming Trump and Doge for inflation. Inflation that is supposed to come back. I mean, we haven't seen that. Did you forget about 2020? Did you forget about the largest monetary printing since 2008? I mean, yeah, I understand it happens to forget things, right? You forgot about 2020? This man is responsible for trillions and trillions of monetary printing in 2020. Trillions! Anyways, the inflation is because of the printing. Inflation happens because you print money, right? They say that, for example, the tariffs are going to lead to an increase in inflation. I have no idea by how much China is going to devalue the currency, but I know for sure they're going to devalue it by a lot. They may devalue it to the point that we don't even feel it. Anyways, that's what I've always called the wild card. The job market is strong and healthy. In what universe? Microsoft just announced a huge round of layoff for middle managers. AI is replacing top jobs. White-collar jobs are going away in droves. In what universe is the job market healthy? Inflation is still a problem. This is what he said, right? I'm telling you what he said. Is inflation still a problem? Because when I look at trueflation, which is truthful data for transparent economy, the actual inflation, the actual number, the numbers are in free fall. Try to buy a house right now. They're so dirt cheap. Houses are so dirt cheap, and that's the biggest expense you can make. Like, stocks are super cheap. Inflation in the US, according to Trade anyways, is 1.42%. You see, the UK had huge inflation back a few years ago. I remember it being in 10%, now it's 2%. Even Argentina only has 45% inflation. Argentina used to have 150% inflation, right? India, 2.8% inflation. India used to have very big inflation. Where is the inflation? Again, this is, to me, he's looking at the wrong data, and they're waiting for clarity to adjust policy stance. You've waited for 4 years, right? We've waited for 4 years. The rates need to be zero. Companies are going bankrupt. Cities are going bankrupt. States are going bankrupt. The government is going bankrupt. There's decatrillions that need to be refinanced every year, and they can't be refinanced with rates this high. It's so simple. How much clarity does one need? It's been 4 years. And he remains committed to full employment. Well, with AI killing the jobs that it will kill, which I fundamentally believe AI will kill a lot of jobs, I can tell you MOAP, I misspelled, MOAP. I can tell you MOAP is coming. The mother of all printers is coming. Don't sell your Bitcoin. Don't sell your hard assets. Don't sell your companies, right? No financial advice, of course. Anyway, I'm angry. I'm bearish. I'm very bearish on the Fed. I'm very bearish on Powell. And hopefully my views on this, let people stop calling me too optimistic, because I know whenever I cover stocks, I often get called too optimistic. Well, hopefully my bearish view on this economic club, anyways, my bearish view on this hopefully kind of makes up for my optimism. So now let's get back to the optimism, and let's talk about this market turmoil and using this market turmoil to seek some opportunities. And of course, the stock number one, which I find cheap, is Nvidia. So Nvidia, it was a 5.5 billion impairment today, and of course the stock dropped 170 billion. And I know and of course part of that drop has to do with Papa Powell. He's probably to blame for for 2 to 3% of that drop is probably to blame on him, probably. But anyways, let's talk about the part that is not to be blamed on him. That's the $5.5 billion impairment, because they can't sell the H20 anymore. And again, think about that. $5.5 billion impairment leads to a $170 billion drop in market cap. That absolutely makes no sense. And I see people say, oh, but analysts have to adjust their models. Like, what do you mean you have to adjust your models? We already knew that the H20 was a low-performing system. It was specifically designed for China to comply with Biden's ban, right? This ban dates back to Joe Biden, right? Trump just strengthened the ban, made it a little stronger, but that product was not really a leading product anyways, because there's Chinese-made alternatives that are already better than the H20, right? So in my view, this changes absolutely nothing. Nvidia can't sell anything to China. It could sell the H20 before, but that was an underperforming system that was going to be rolled out anyways. So in my view, this should have been in the models in the first place. I don't think this is a big deal at all whatsoever. We already knew China was off for Nvidia. The market more than digested this news, but yet the stock dumped a lot today. Anyways, that was stock number one, and I bought a little bit of Nvidia today. I'm happy about that. I bought it around 103. I thought it was a good price. Moving on to stock number two. Stock number two is HIMS. HIMS is the stock that I've nicknamed the punching bag. It's Wall Street's punching bag. They love to make it go down. They love to sell HIMS. Mr. Market loves to sell HIMS. What did HIMS have to do to be down more than Nvidia? HIMS is down more than Nvidia. What did HIMS do? What is it? What is it that HIMS did? Right? HIMS is recession proof. If we enter in a recession, I can tell you, ED pills, anxiety medication, hair loss drugs, that's the last thing people are going to quit. It's domestic. It's US only. I mean, we got tiny operations in the UK, but barely worth a mention. It's mostly domestic. It's recurring revenue. 95% of revenue is recurring. Everything is made in USA labs. Sure, you may find a few ingredients here and there, like the pill box could come from abroad, but with the gross margins they have, that's never going to have a meaningful impact. They have a small competitor in Novo, and I say small competitor, of course, because GLP-1s is not the main business at HIMSS. GLP-1 is a small business for HIMSS still, but the market only judges HIMSS through the lens of GLP-1s. Novo is in trouble, right? People are fearful that Novo will get some sanctions from the Trump presidency because, they're in the EU, and I explained, I think this is a big reason why this stock has almost been halved, Novo, if you look. And to me, as far as the highest quality stocks that I would put in the highest quality bucket, which is the cheapest stock that I would put in the highest quality bucket, well, that would be HIMSS. HIMSS would be my cheapest stock that I would put in the highest quality bucket. How much am I paying for that growth? 0.079. This ton is ridiculously cheap. The rule of 40 is a 75. And the last stock that I find cheap today is Tesla. And I'll ask about Tesla. Now that it seems that everybody talks about tariff, did the news cycle just move on? I remember a month ago, what some, I think, rightfully called Elon derangement syndrome. I remember a month ago that was what everything was talking about. It seems like the news cycle doesn't last more than 2 weeks, does it? Very few people talk about that now. At least it's not everywhere in my news feed anymore. Now my news feed is all about tariff. Yet the stock is still in the gutter. The stock traded down to 235 today, right? So we're pretty close to the recent 220 low. Yet we're closer for a robotaxi launch than ever in June. It's confirmed. It keeps being confirmed, right? It's the least impacted auto manufacturer by tariff. We heard today that Ford might have to raise its prices across the board for all vehicles in the US. I expect this to happen on so many other USA brands, quote USA, quote unquote, right? Because the parts are often made abroad. Tesla is the leader in real-world AI. And that means leader in robotaxi, right? And that's the Cybercab. That's what's going to be launched. And I believe the leader, if the videos that I see from Tesla, are to be believed, which I think they are, I think they will be the leader in actual embodied AI, as Nvidia calls it, right? Robots, right? And so that's an opportunity, of course, that's a few years from now. And so Wall Street analysts don't care about that because they only care about the next quarter. But when I look at Tesla, I find it cheap. And instead of arguing and people telling me, oh, Tesla bad, because I always get these comments, and that's fine, by the way, I'll just conclude by showing the performance of Tesla for the last, let's call it 15 years now. You can see 41% average annual return a year over the past 15 years. It has handsomely beaten the NASDAQ, almost 2.5 times the NASDAQ's performance. This is why I own Tesla. This is why I'm happy with Tesla. Anyways, hopefully my thoughts on Powell are not too opinionated, but anyways, I'm bearish on the Fed. I really am. So this was not financial advice, not investment advice, just entertainment. Please please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.